BBC 리더 다니엘입니다. 오늘 기사는 제인 구달의 시작, The Human Chimp Bone Captured in an Iconic Photo에 대한 기사입니다. 오랜만에 영상을 올리고요. 굉장히 축약적 올릴 겁니다. 오늘 보실 표현들은 reach out to가 있습니다. 이 to를 꼭 챙겨야 되죠. 누구누구한테 팔을 뻗는다 라는 얘기입니다. preconceptions, preoccupations, prejudice하고 비슷합니다. 이미 머릿속에 고정되어 있는 개념, 어떤 관념을 얘기하는 겁니다. 보다 보면 중간에 defy conventions가 나옵니다. 이 전통, 규범, 규약에 저항하다, 반항하다. 그러니까 resist의 개념을 갖고 있죠. defiant 캐릭터 하면 고분고분하지 않는, 그러니까 obedient하지 않은 캐릭터를 얘기합니다. sentient, 지각, 능력을 가진 artificial intelligence is a kind of sentient being. 요새 많이 나오는 표현 중에 하나입니다. trailblazer, blazer trail이라고 하죠. 이 길을 내는 겁니다. 결국 선구자죠. pioneer하고 같은 표현입니다. take my hat off to somebody. 누구에게 굴복하다. 경의를 표하다. 모자를 벗어 던지는 거니까요. 모자를 벗어서 인사를 하는 겁니다. relatable, 연결되어 있다고 느끼는, 공감대를 형성하는. 이 발음이 쉽지 않습니다. 오늘부터 영상에서는 기사를 그냥 read aloud로 쭉 할 겁니다. 기사에 대한 해설이나 어떤 단어 표현들을 보시고 싶으면 블로그로 오시면 되고요. 그리고 이 영상을 보시는 분들이 중급자 이상이라고 판단하기 때문에 자세한 해석은 하지 않습니다. read aloud 중심으로 제가 쭉쭉 읽어 나갈 겁니다. 물론 다만 제가 원어민이 아니기 때문에 이 영상을 들으시면서 블로그랑 병행해서 학습을 하시면 좋으실 것 같아요. 주당 한 2번 정도, 얼마나 자주 이거 제가 할지 모르겠습니다. 들어가겠습니다. 중간중간에 제가 발음이 약간 꼬일 수 있으니까 그건 이해해 주세요. In 1964, Jane Goodal's husband Hugo van Lowick took a photo of her and an infant chimp reaching out to each other. Decades later, it continues to impact how we view chimpanzees. On 14th July 1960, 26-year-old Jane Goodal arrived by boat to the shores of Lake Tanganyika, Tanzania. Here, in what is now Gombe Stream National Park, her groundbreaking scientific research into chimpanzee behavior began. Previously, a secretary student without an undergrad degree in science, Goodal says she observed her wise subjects with an open mind and without preconceptions. Controversially, at the time, she defied convention by giving these chimps names instead of numbers. One image taken of Goodal during this time captured her fresh approach, challenged the scientific norm, and has become one of the world's most recognizable photos. Her late husband, Dutch photographer Hugo van Lowick, went to Gombe in 1962, where he took thousands of photographs of Goodal. But it was in 1964 that he took what became an iconic photograph of Goodal with an infant chimp known as Flint. In the photo, Goodal is shown crouching down and reaching out with her right arm to Flint, the first chimp to be born at Gombe after Goodal's arrival, as he extends his left arm up towards her. As Goodal tells BBC Future, this was long before the era of digital photography, so she had to wait a while before she could see the printed images. It was a couple of months or more before there was a safe way to send exposed rolls to the National Geographic of processing, and then another wait while they sent the prints back to Kigoma, she recalls. When I saw it, though I didn't realize it would become iconic, it did make me think of Michelangelo's painting of God reaching out to man. The photo, taken in 1964, was first published in National Geographic magazine in December 1965. Another photo of Goodal, studying the Gombe chimpanzees, was on the front cover and published as part of Van Lowick's photo series titled New Discoveries Among Africa's Chimpanzees. That same year, National Geographic released Miss Goodal and the Wild Chimpanzees, the first of many documentaries showcasing Goodal's research. The photo, along with Van Lowick's documentary film People of the Forest, the chimps of Gombe forced science to abandon the idea that humans were the only sentient beings with personalities, minds, and emotions, says Goodal, adding that she was taught this as a student at Cambridge University in 1962. Thus, this image opened up a whole new way of understanding who animals are and showed that we humans are a part of and not separated from the rest of the animal. Goodal was the first person to notice that chimpanzees were stripping down a stiff blades of grass, then sticking them into holes in termite mounds to catch and eat these insects. Until then, tool use like this was believed to distinguish humans from all other animals. Mark Wright, Director of Science at conservation charity WWF, says Goodal was a real trailblazer in many ways. But these photographs help people recognize the importance of female perspective within the scientific research community, he says. She was a young woman saying that women are equally well placed to do really first-class research in the field. Up until then, it had been a pretty male-dominated environment. There then was a succession of high-profile women doing this sort of work. Gilbert M. Rosebanner, former chair of the National Geographic Society, has likewise argued that Goodal's trailblazing path for other women primatologists is arguably her greatest legacy. During the last third of the 20th century, Diane Fossey, Beirut Geldikas, Cherry Nutt, Penny Patterson, and many more women have followed her. He wrote in the Jane Goodal Institute's biography of the primatologist. Indeed, women now dominate long-term primate behavior studies worldwide. When the photo was taken in 1964, Goodal was immersed in life at Gombe, beginning to understand the chimps she was studying and slowly building up her observations of their behavior. This first-hand experience has always been her priority, says Wright. This photo reminded us that for much of this work, there is no alternative to being in the field. A lot of studies were in zoos or safari parks. You need to get in the field to really understand the natural behavior. And you have to do that for the long term. You cannot just nib in for a couple of weeks. To reinforce that, Goodal went to East Africa without any formal qualifications and lived in Gombe for more than 2 decades, dedicating her life to studying chimps for generations. Wright says this photo relays a powerful message to people who haven't studied science but still want to get involved in the research because sometimes an open mind is the best starting point. This wasn't someone in a lab coat. She made it relatable. And because she wasn't encumbered by lots of formal training, she could go in as a free thinker and then interpret what she saw. Keen to open the world of scientific research up to everyone, Goodal has inspired many people to study primatology in the field. Since 1960, more than 482 scientific research papers and graduate theses about chimpanzee health and behavior have been published by Gombe Stream Research Center with hundreds of scientists studying there. Alongside her vast body of documentary films, books, and National Geographic articles, Goodal's photographs with flint flagged the importance of conserving individual animals. Previously, it was all about saving species. Individuals were not important. The scientific thinking changed, says Goodal. A 2021 review by U.S. anthropologist Michael Lawrence Wilson summarizes the many findings of research undertaken at Gombe and reflects on the impact of the chimpanzee research efforts pioneered here by Goodal. Gombe exemplifies what has become a standard approach for primate field studies: collaborative research, collecting systematic information on identified individuals followed throughout their entire lives. It concludes, "Today, this photo makes Goodal feel nostalgic. It reminds me of a magical time when I knew each individual chimpanzee as well as members of my family. I watched Flint's development from a tiny infant to a spoiled brat. always supported by his older sister or one of his older brothers, if another youngster accidentally or sometimes deliberately hurt him. The image makes me think of those best days of my life, she says. The closeness between Goodal and Flint in the photograph also reflects the culture at the time, says Wright, noting that scientists now keep further from the animal subjects they are observing. But she was doing something that hadn't really been done before. I take my hat off to her. Her work was absolutely groundbreaking. Above all, the picture shows Goodal's genuine love for her subject, Wright says. There is a warmth and an affection for the species she is studying. There is also love for Gombat too. She found her place for Goodal. It's her simple connection to Flint that makes this image so captivating. I suspect it was the appeal of that little infant reaching out so trustingly, a real bond between human and chimpanzee. At least, that is why it is so powerful for me. 제인 구달에 대한 기사였습니다. 약간 분석적인, 내용의 요약 같은 거는 블로그를 오시면 보실 수 있습니다. 이플리스의 다니엘이었고요. 저희의 여러 프로그램도 있습니다. 들어줘서 감사합니다.